We're enjoying and celebrating Tesla's most recent stock price rises. To put it mildly, the run has been wild, with the company recently closing $2 shy of $280 in a pre-market, when we were expecting to see just an 8% climb to the magic 300 price. Mark then said, "Okay, so the Federal Reserve attempted to manipulate the market a little bit yesterday. As a result, the price of Tesla's stock overreacted, compared to most likely because it has been doing so well lately, and some are anticipating a pullback. Additionally, the auto industry is impacted by higher interest rates, and Tesla is a high beta stock. I believe that many investors were waiting for a pullback during this most recent run, but many did not, as it continued to rise. The stock did fall to $253 today, but it quickly rebounded to close above $264, and is currently over $266 after hours. At this point in the video, it appears promising that there may be more upside to this run, and that we may just have experienced a minor speed bump before reaching $300, which would require an additional 13 rise. In other words, there are still events that we are aware of that could push the stock higher, possibly even to $300. The stock price has increased by more than 40% in the last month or so, but not due to any significant news or actions. The admission by GM, Ford, and Rivian that they require Tesla's assistance for EVs adds some validation, but it's negligible overall, and we all knew this going in. Clearly, the competition needs to use Tesla's charging stations in order to have any chance. It merely makes electric driving that much more feasible and convenient. Similarly, for Legacy to participate in the autonomous vehicle market, their vehicles must also have a license for Tesla's FSD. This year's first major stock pump event was a Giga Nevada expansion, with some hyperboles suggesting the stock was headed to $600. The Mexico Factory Investor Day Cybertruck in production this year has 2 million potential production, Gen 3, etc. And the waiting time for Tesla to complete their miracles feels relatively sooner. We can almost taste the prize. Still, retail investors were given new hope in the world of possibilities by the company called Tesla. Elon informed us that the prize is big, possibly a tenfold return on investment, and that it seems so close. This makes Elon the first real trillionaire, at least formally. There are now more components at the moment of news that will cause a comparable pump in the stock price this year. There are a few things that we can anticipate or have been informed to anticipate that should help move the stock to where we truly want to see it. First, I'd like to discuss how Elon and Tesla have set a low bar for this year. But despite this, the stock price has increased. Not much is expected, at least not in terms of ramping up. Elon said 1.8 million vehicles produced, or 2 million if nothing goes wrong, of which so far nothing appears to have gone wrong. So I guess we'll see if we're getting close to a possibility of 2 million with the next production numbers. This quarter deliveries would need to be in the high 400s, I would say, to have a chance, but even around mid 400s means there is a strong likelihood of beating the 1.8 million figure, which I think the market would look favorably towards, but I don't think deliveries are really going to be able to push the stock too much. It's mainly priced in. From when it was first announced in the Q4 earnings call, it will just help the stock rise organically. No bad news is good news sometimes. I think 2 million may be a bit of a stretch, but 1.9 million could look like a possibility aside from out of the blue announcements like Ford and GM praising Tesla for how far ahead their own EVs and admitting defeat, putting Tesla in a relative position when it comes to EVs rather than ICE. As in, although Tesla's gross margins are currently lower than last year, they're still so much higher than everyone else's. And when the industry grows more, and the others eventually become profitable, then Tesla will be that much further ahead again by then, which is hard to almost fathom talking around the end of the decade. The next likely event to boost this up will be the Model 3 Highland. We recently saw some more spy photos of the rear taillight nail, which has opened up new renderings, and I have to say it looks really good. This is a really minor update, just new headlights, taillights, front, and other minor aesthetics. Tesla's lead will continue or possibly even increase, considering how much resource goes into Tesla's EVs over Ford's. We haven't seen any images of the new interior yet, but our best guess is that it will resemble the Model S update. Even with new lights, which tend to be the feature that ages cars the most, you can have a big impact. They'll look great and might even be good enough to increase demand until the auto industry experiences a better economic cycle. In addition, I believe another significant issue about the Model 3 is the new long-range Model 3 in the US, which has 333 miles of range. Avid tester aficionados are really enthusiastic about this new design and feel. So ideally, it carries over to the consumers. Since it didn't initially qualify for the full tax credit, we know that it isn't using 2170 sales from Nevada. Instead, it must be using sales from China. Since it has a lower range than the previous Model 3 long range, there are rumors that it may not be using 2170 sales at all. Additionally, given the insufficient supply of 4680 sales in Texas, we would assume that Tesla wants to save as many 2170 sales as possible. If Tesla is achieving this much range of shelf sales, whether they are new M3P cells or LPFP cells, this is really impressive. It's a very high range for sales that don't use nickel in the cathode at beginning of things to come if Shell are generating sales as any dentist, that in these vast amounts, perhaps with a huge supply coming from Cal's brand new factory next door to Tesla's Jiga Shanghai factory. This will have a huge impact on the quantity of higher range vehicles Tesla can provide. I know it's not as exciting as big as shiny as Cybertrucks, but these are the fundamentals that carve a path to Tesla's future. But the Cybertruck is big, and it is shiny, and it has captured a lot of people's attention, along with a lot of customers who've pre-ordered, although some bears are suggesting that the demand is not as high as we thought, with Elon saying they'll only make about 250,000 a year. Hey, that's only volume production. It would take 6 years at that rate just to fulfill the 1.5 million back orders. And that would assume no more additional orders in the meantime. It would also assume all 1.5 million orders get fulfilled, which they likely wouldn't. I have 5 of them on order. But I doubt I will buy all 5, and there are some reservation holders with over 100. I think a lot of people were speculatively buying for arbitrage, receive your check early and sell it for more, or for a fleet of Cybertruck robo-taxis. Anyway, Elon did also say it will make as many as people need after mixing the 250,000 figure in the past. I've guessed around 350,000 a year. However, the latest update was that Tesla have access to players to plan to meet a base production of 375,000 Cybertrucks a year with a planned delivery even at the end of Q3, which is fast approaching. If Tesla have a gross profit of $20,000 per Cybertruck, including upgrades and FSD, then that would be 7, and when Tesla may start there, and what mediums they'll be using. What I really hope for is an announcement on when Mexico will break ground, but I'm almost certain that no one will ask anything about the progress with Mexico, or when we might expect the Gen 3 reveal. Mexico breaking ground is a really major deal and will probably boost the stock as well, though probably not as much as I believe it should, since it has been more than 3 months since its announcement. We would hope they start there soon anyhow. All of these events could happen within the next 3 to 4 months, adding to the momentum the stock price already has, and the fact that the damage caused by Twitter to the stock price has essentially been undone, so I see it rising to 300. The market is becoming increasingly bullish on Tesla again, so perhaps we can recover to a level where, as I say, there is no major macro crisis or anything of the sort. The stock has obviously increased significantly without much happening, so I believe that if some of these events take place, they will add to the momentum we have already experienced.